I suddenly realized that maybe there was another way to calculate 3 times 9. In that moment, my imagination exploded. I pictured all 9 planets in space, while I piloted a spaceship carrying Planet 3 Earth straight toward Planet 9, Pluto. After a violent collision, Pluto was completely shattered, but Earth survived. So I proudly came to the conclusion that 3 times 9 equals 3. But right after I finished the first question, the exam ended. The teacher immediately collected my paper, yet I still looked completely confident. The top student sitting behind me asked how I did, and I smugly replied that the test was way too easy. For me, this was just normal. Things got even crazier during reading class. I told the teacher that all the letters in the textbook were dancing. The whole class instantly burst into laughter. Holding back her anger, the teacher told me to read those dancing letters out loud. So I did. After hearing me read, she looked shocked and threw me out of the classroom the next second. Even before leaving, I purposely made weird gestures at my classmates. Even when I was punished, I never behaved. In everyone's eyes, I was just a bad kid, but nobody knew I wasn't lying. To me, the letters really did dance. Numbers also turned into strange objects in my head. The reason for all of this was that I suffered from severe dyslexia. It made even the simplest things impossible for me to learn. At the same time, though, I had an incredible talent for drawing, but nobody ever understood how I felt. My dad only knew how to yell at me, and sometimes he even hit me. I thought my life would always stay this way, but I had no idea that soon I would meet the person who would completely change my life. After class finally ended, I walked back into the classroom and immediately heard my classmates mocking me without restraint. My mood instantly dropped. At that moment, the idea of skipping school suddenly popped into my head. I grabbed my backpack and walked away. After crossing a dangerous road, I saw construction workers climbing walls dozens of meters high with their bare hands just to make a living. I saw a boy cooling off with a popsicle and a man lifting a water bottle and drinking huge gulps of water. I copied him and drank the same way. Later, I sat quietly by the ocean alone, staring at the endless sea, lost in my thoughts. Then I saw pigeons flying freely across the sky, so I jumped onto a bus. I stretched out my arms and enjoyed the feeling of freedom in the air. For that brief moment, it felt like all my worries disappeared. When I got home, I tossed my test paper with the 0 score to the dog. It quickly tore the paper into pieces while I clapped happily beside it, trying to cover up the truth. Mom asked where my test paper went, and I nervously blew bubbles, hoping to fool her. Hearing my brother proudly talk about being top of every class, I rolled my eyes in disgust. Then, while Mom wasn't paying attention, I secretly slipped out again. That night, I drew all the happiness I experienced that day. Exaggerated close-ups, bold colors, even my brother couldn't help praising my talent after seeing it. Before bed, I begged him to help me forge a leave note so I could cover up my skipping school. After a lot of pleading, he finally agreed. The next day, the teacher didn't notice anything unusual. I thought I had pulled it off perfectly, but a few days later, Dad found the leave note before I could destroy it. Furious, he demanded to know where I had gone and what I had done. Terrified, I carefully told him everything that happened. Soon after, my parents took me to school to confirm the situation, but the teacher only kept complaining about me. She said I never listened in class. Reading and writing were torture for me. Every subject got a 0. I could even calculate 3 times 9 as 3. Every day, besides going to the bathroom, I constantly asked for water and disrupted the entire class. After hearing all that, my parents lowered their heads in embarrassment, but the principal's next words hurt even more. He revealed that I had already repeated a grade once, yet nothing had changed. I kept repeating the same problems every single day. He even questioned whether my IQ was normal and suggested sending me to a school for mentally disabled children. My parents' expressions became incredibly complicated. On the way home, Dad thought the school was just trying to avoid responsibility, while Mom blamed herself deeply. She had already given up her career to focus entirely on me, yet things still turned out this way. That night, Dad contacted a strict boarding school and decided to send me there the very next day. I angrily slammed my fists against the table. Mom didn't want me to leave either. She said I had never been so far away from home before and wanted to wait another year. But Dad insisted that I needed to grow up and that the new school was extremely strict. According to him, if students refused to obey, they would be beaten until they did. Hearing that, I cried and begged him not to send me away, but he had already made up his mind. When I arrived at the new school the next day, the principal immediately tried to intimidate me. He claimed that even the wildest horses could be tamed there. My constantly shifting eyes and nervous expression showed nothing but fear. Watching my family get into the car to leave, I stood there awkwardly and helplessly. Then the harsh sound of the engine started, and I finally realized they were really leaving me behind. I couldn't stop my tears anymore. After arriving at the dormitory, everyone else changed clothes while I sat alone on the bed in silence. Once the lights went out, overwhelming sadness instantly crashed over me. I ran into the bathroom, held my head, and completely broke down crying. But what else could I do? I wiped away my tears, washed my face, then forced myself back into bed and pretended to sleep. Back at home, Mom was just as heartbroken. Looking through the flipbook drawings I had made, she cried uncontrollably. In the drawings, I was slowly drifting farther and farther away from my family. But for the sake of my future, she felt she had no choice. The next day, everyone thought the new school environment would finally change me, but instead, the massive academic pressure completely shut me down. In language class, right after assigning seats, the teacher aggressively demanded that I explain the meaning of the text just because my answer wasn't identical to the textbook. The teacher and classmates laughed at me together. In art class, I only glanced out the window once, and the teacher violently smacked my palm. During PE, I couldn't keep up with the others, so I was dragged aside and punished again. I thought maybe the English teacher would be gentler, but what waited for me was the same aggressive scolding. Because of my severe dyslexia, the letters on the blackboard kept moving and dancing in my eyes. I became more and more overwhelmed. I couldn't understand why everyone treated me this way. In anger, I dumped all my books into the trash can and threw my backpack across the room. Maybe my imagination was just too powerful. Those letters suddenly transformed into spiders, crawling toward me from every direction.